The story of speed in the 1950s always circles back to a single shimmering shape, a machine that felt like it was carved from the optimism of post-war America. The 1959 Chevrolet Corvette did not simply arrive on the scene. It floated into it with the easy confidence of a young nation discovering its own rhythm. Long before the decade closed, this two-seat sports car had become a symbol of adventure, the kind of freedom you could hear in the rumble of its exhaust long before you saw the chrome. Under that sculpted hood lived the 283 cubic inch V8, a small block that breathed through advanced fuel injection and produced close to 290 horsepower. It pushed the Corvette from 0 to 60 miles per hour in a little over 6 seconds, a figure that made it one of the quickest American machines of its era. The way the engine climbed in tone felt almost like a trumpet rising through a smoky jazz club at midnight. Even its original price, just under $4,000, hinted at a dream that ordinary Americans could reach for. And if you enjoy reliving legends like this one, you might stay with us on this journey and consider joining the American Muscle Soul family. Following the youthful confidence of the Corvette, the next chapter of the decade turns toward a machine that carried its speed with a quieter kind of authority. The 1957 Pontiac Bonneville arrived not as a shout but as a steady drumbeat, the sound of a company discovering a new level of refinement. It was a car that blended power with dignity, the kind of machine that seemed to glide through the glow of streetlights rather than simply pass beneath them. Its design spoke with broad strokes. A wide grille, proud dual headlamps, and long sculpted lines created a presence that felt both grounded and elegant. Beneath that polished exterior rested the 347 cubic inch V8, an engine with Rochester mechanical fuel injection rated at about 315 horsepower. When the throttle opened, the Bonneville surged forward with a smooth but determined pull, climbing from rest to 60 miles per hour in a breath that surprised many drivers of its day. It was performance wrapped in formality, like a dancer in a tailored suit. Its original price, well above $5,000, placed it among the more aspirational cars of the era. And if this graceful powerhouse stirs something in your memory, share it with us. If you have seen a Bonneville in person, comment the number 9. If not, comment the number 0. As the bold presence of the Bonneville fades into the rearview mirror, the road ahead reveals a different kind of strength, one shaped by quiet confidence rather than bright flair. The 1956 Chrysler 300B stepped into the decade like a heavyweight in a finely tailored coat, carrying both prestige and raw intent beneath its polished surfaces. It was a machine built for those who wanted authority, not only in comfort but also in motion. Its wide grille and twin headlamps created a face that felt unmistakably determined, while the tapered rear gave it a sense of motion even at a standstill. But the heart of the story rested deep under the hood, where a 354 cubic inch V8 waited in a steady rumble. Fed by a pair of two-barrel carburetors, it produced up to around 355 horsepower, a figure that allowed this dignified sedan to rise from rest to 60 miles per hour in roughly 8 seconds. The acceleration felt less like a burst and more like a gathering storm pushing forward with steady force. Its original price, a bit above $4,000, marked it as a luxury reserved for those who sought the finest Chrysler could craft. Looking back now, the 300B feels like a bridge between elegance and muscle, a reminder that speed in the 50s did not always need to shout to be heard. The steady power of the 300B leads us naturally to the car that began Chrysler's pursuit of prestige in motion. The 1955 Chrysler C300 arrived with the quiet certainty of a first chapter written with bold ink. It was not a machine built for showmanship. Instead, it carried an almost formal confidence, like a gentleman stepping onto the ballroom floor knowing every eye would eventually turn his way. Its long, clean profile and the wide, disciplined grille gave it a presence that felt both modern and imposing. Sharp dual headlamps framed a face that suggested purpose, but the true character of the C300 rested beneath the hood. There, The 331 cubic inch Hemi waited with a deep, deliberate rumble. Fed by a pair of 4-barrel carburetors, it produced an even 300 horsepower, enough to lift this refined sedan from rest to 60 miles per hour in a touch under 10 seconds. The acceleration was not violent. It built like a rising tide, smooth and unwavering. Priced a little above $4,000 when new, the C300 stood proudly among the most exclusive performance sedans of its day. Looking back, it feels like the moment when American luxury first reached out toward true muscle, setting the tone for an entire lineage of powerful Chrysler machines that would follow. With the refined strength of the C300 still echoing in memory, the road carries us toward a different expression of speed, one wrapped not in aggression but in pure American glamour. The 1953 Cadillac Eldorado glided into the decade like a parade float carved from confidence, a symbol of what luxury meant in an era when excess was celebrated rather than questioned. It was the kind of car that turned city streets into stages. Its arrow-shaped grille, long sweeping lines and proud tail lamps created a silhouette that felt almost ceremonial. Every surface seemed drawn with intention, reflecting an era when craftsmanship mattered as much as power. Beneath its broad hood rested the 331 cubic inch V8, a smooth and steady engine producing just over 200 horsepower. It lifted the Eldorado from rest to 60 miles per hour in a little more than 10 seconds. Not with the urgency of a sports car, but with the grace of a heavyweight dancer moving effortlessly across a polished floor. The price, well above $7,000 when new, placed it in rare company, a machine reserved for the few who wanted to make a statement without speaking a word. And if you are still traveling with us through this journey of the quickest beauties of the 50s, drop the number 5 in the comments to let me know you are still here, still enjoying every mile of American muscle soul. As the shimmering elegance of the Eldorado fades into the past, the next step on our journey reveals a machine that reshaped American expectations in its own quiet way. The 1958 Ford Thunderbird marked a turning point, trading the purity of a small roadster for the comfort and confidence of a true personal luxury car. It carried itself with the calm pride of something that knew exactly what it wanted to be. The front end sat low and assertive, while the rear fins rose like wings catching the glow of late afternoon sunlight. Every line felt intentional, every curve shaped to balance grace with strength. Beneath the broad hood waited the 352 cubic inch V8, a dependable heart producing around 300 horsepower. Its pull from rest to 60 miles per hour, a touch above 10 seconds, felt smooth and unhurried, a gentle swell rather than a sudden strike. This was performance designed for the long road, not the stoplight sprint. The Thunderbird entered the market a bit above $3,000. A price that placed it within reach of drivers who wanted luxury without extravagance. Looking back, the 1958 model feels like a quiet revolution. The moment Ford learned that speed could ride comfortably beside refinement, shaping a new chapter in American automotive identity. The calm confidence of the Thunderbird leads us toward a machine that carried a very different kind of pride, one born not from luxury but from the raw promise of a new era. The 1950 Oldsmobile 88 arrived at the dawn of the decade with the swagger of something ahead of its time, a car that whispered the earliest hints of what American performance would one day become. It did not need embellishment. Its strength lay in the steady pulse under the hood. The wide grille and clean shoulders gave it a stance that felt both grounded and assertive. Inside, the cabin followed the philosophy of functional comfort, offering the conveniences drivers needed without drifting into extravagance. What made the 88 unforgettable was the 303 cubic inch Rocket V8, a compact powerhouse that delivered just over 130 horsepower. Its climb to 60 miles per hour in a touch under 11 seconds may sound gentle now, but in its day it was a jolt of pure excitement, the feeling of an America discovering speed on its own terms. Priced at around $2,000, the 88 became an attainable dream for countless families emerging from the post-war years. Today, it stands as a bridge between eras, a reminder that even the earliest steps of American performance, carried a spark bright enough to ignite the decades that followed. The early fire of the Oldsmobile 88 brings us to a car that carried the spirit of the American middle class with a different kind of quiet pride. The 1955 Chevrolet Bel Air did not roar onto the scene. It simply arrived with a smile, becoming the kind of machine families trusted for long highways, small celebrations, and the simple joy of being on the open road. It embodied a moment in time when America felt wide open and full of promise. Its neoclassical lines, balanced front fascia, and graceful rear fins gave the Bel Air a sense of confidence without pretense. The interior followed the same philosophy, offering comfort and thoughtful detail that made every drive feel just a little more special. Beneath its gentle appearance, however, lay the 265 cubic inch V8, an engine that in power pack form produced around 180 horsepower. It carried the Bel Air from rest to 60 miles per hour in roughly 11 seconds, a steady pull that matched the rhythm of an America learning to love long-distance travel. Its price sat comfortably under $2,000, making it one of the most accessible symbols of the era. Looking back, the 1955 Bel Air feels less like a machine and more like a companion from a simpler age, a reminder of the golden years when style, optimism, and dependable power came together in one unmistakable silhouette. The gentle optimism carried by the Bel Air leads us into the presence of a car that wore its dignity like a tailored coat. The 1954 Dodge Royal entered the mid-50s with the measured grace of a brand refining its identity, a machine that balanced tradition with the early whispers of performance. It moved through the era not as a spotlight seeker, but as a quiet statement of confidence. Its rectangular grille and round headlamps created a face that felt both familiar and distinguished, the kind of styling that reflected an America still rooted in classic forms yet ready for change. The body lines remained clean and deliberate, offering a sense of poise that matched the steady character of the car. Beneath the hood waited the 241 cubic inch Red Ram Hemi V8, a compact but capable engine that delivered just over 150 horsepower. Its climb to 60 miles per hour, settling just above 11 seconds, carried a smooth and even rhythm, more a confident stride than a sprint. Priced slightly above $2,000, the Royal held its place as one of Dodge's more refined offerings, appealing to drivers who valued comfort without surrendering strength. Today it stands as a quiet symbol of the golden age, a reminder that even the more reserved machines of the 50s played an essential role in shaping the American story of power, pride, and open roads. The refined composure of the Dodge Royal guides us toward the final mile of this journey. A chapter written by a machine that proved raw strength did not always come from a V8 roar. The 1952 Hudson Hornet rolled into the early 50s with a low, confident stance that seemed to press itself into the pavement, a design born from engineering rather than ornament. It carried the quiet determination of a fighter who knew exactly what he could do. Its broad grille and clean, rounded lines gave the Hornet a presence that felt grounded and purposeful. The cabin followed the same philosophy, offering honest comfort wrapped in the sturdy craftsmanship Hudson was known for. Beneath that long hood lived the legendary 308 cubic inch inline-six, an engine producing just under 150 horsepower. Numbers alone never told its story. What mattered was how it used its strength. Smooth, relentless torque pushed the Hornet to 60 miles per hour in a little over 12 seconds, but its true power appeared in endurance, reliability, and control. Priced at a little over $2,500, the Hornet became an attainable champion, dominating early stock car racing and earning a reputation far greater than its modest specs suggested. Looking back, the 1952 Hudson Hornet feels like the perfect closing note to the decade, a reminder that the quickest cars of the 50s were not defined by brute numbers alone, but by the spirit they carried across every American mile. As we close the book on these remarkable machines of the 1950s, Each one reminds us how American speed first found its voice. If you enjoyed this journey through the earliest muscle legends, tap the like button and join the American Muscle Soul family for more stories from the golden age of horsepower. Your support keeps these memories alive, mile after mile, across every open road we explore together.